The new iRacing build is out today and it features a bunch of new cars, a new track, a bunch of refreshed tracks, as well as a new UI that looks, I think, really, really good. And yeah, a whole bunch of other little changes. I've tried all the new content and I will show you how I found it and if it's worth actually buying. Let's do it. Okay, so the new build is out today and let's get started with the new content. The first thing that I need to acknowledge though is that the download size for all of this content is absolutely gigantic. It was over like 100 gigabytes. If you downloaded everything, it took me like 3 hours to download, and I know everyone just says, oh, don't download everything, just download what you need. But sometimes you just feel like racing the Silver Crown at 11 p.m, and at that point, nobody wants to have to wait to download anything. So yes, that's my first point, massive download. That could be a good or a bad thing, it depends on you. There are technically 4 new cars in this build. I say technically as one of them is the BMW M4 Evo GT3. This is just the Evo version of the BMW M4, which we already have in iRacing. It is slightly different, it looks slightly different, it drives slightly differently as well, but it's not a huge amount, and if you're into it, you can go drive it. It is a free upgrade, so if you already own the BMW M4, you now own the Evo. Congratulations. There is actually a brand new GT3 car this build though, and it is the Aston Martin Vantage Evo GT3, and this car is very good. It has a V8 engine, it's 4 litres, the engine sits in front of the cockpit, and in my opinion, this car sounds really, really good. The outboard sound is even better than the inboard sound, and I think it sounds really fantastic, especially the shifts. There's like a pop noise, I think it's really cool. I imagine this car will be similar to drive to the Ford Mustang GT3 and the BMW GT3, but we will have to wait until we get into the season and the the GT3 esports boys to actually get into the setup screen and start messing with it. I found it quite nice to drive, but I think the baseline setups are fairly stable. A new track this build is Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. This is the site of the Mexican Grand Prix in Mexico City. It is a very historic venue. It's got 6 configurations in iRacing, including the F1, the NASCAR, and the Formula E layouts, and versions of them as well, which include the stadium section. There's actually more than 6 layouts. There's also like an oval. There's like a lot of different layouts for it. I drove the Aston there in the GP layout to test out both the track and the car, and you can see how I found it. Welcome to Mexico City and Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. This is a new track. This track hosts F1, Formula E, NASCAR, everything. And I'm in the Aston Martin Vantage Evo, which is a brand new GT3 car as well. The first thing you'll notice about this car is that it sounds really, really good, I think. Especially on like the gear shifts. The popping noises is really good. But yes, this track hosts F1, and one of the things about this track, the quirky things, is that it is very high above sea level, which means the air is kind of thinner, and it means that you'll be producing less aero, but also less drag, I guess. Which means that you should go faster in a straight line, but you'll have less grip in the corners. Another thing to be aware of is that turbo cars should theoretically be faster here than naturally aspirated cars as well. But yes, this middle sector is very Formula One, for better or for worse. Lots of really kind of long flowing corners. I think this is a really fun section of track in like a high speed single seater aero car, but in a GT3 car it's kind of so-so. The best part of this track though is of course the stadium section that we're about to go into. You can carry a lot of speed through this right-hander. And into this really tight corner, the asphalt is like white here for some reason. I don't know if that's a bug or not. We'll see. And this corner here is really fun as well. Tip it in, go right out to the wall. And yeah, that's a lap of Mexico City. I think it will be a really interesting track. There's about 1 million combos and different versions of it that you can drive. And this car as well should be fine, I think. My early impressions are that it's very balanced. I think it's kind of understeery and it's very stable, but once we see the esports real drivers get into it, they might build some more crazy sets and make it turn a little bit more. The second new car this build is the Ford Mustang GT4 car. This car is also very good. It is a V8 and it sounds really nice. It's very similar to a supercar, I think, in a lot of how it sounds. And this car I found similar to drive to the BMW GT4 car if you already own that in iRacing. That being said, all the GT4 cars have been reworked for this build. They do have a new tyre model, which means that they're kind of a little sketchy for the first lap or so while the tyres are coming up to temperature, though it is nowhere near as bad as the hypercars or the GT3s. It's like a very manageable first lap, I would say. They feel like they have more grunt and they are faster in a straight line, but they are slower in the corners. This means braking zones are longer, minimum speeds are lower. I actually personally found this more obvious at slow speed corners than high speed. I found high speed kind of similar, but slow speed corners, you really did need to slow the car down a lot more than before. Sonoma Raceway is a track that I've found that people don't even know that is in iRacing, and it got reworked this build for the first time in a long time, and it looks really, really good. So I gave the Mustang a run there to see how it would drive. So this is Sonoma Raceway in the brand new Ford Mustang GT4 car, and this car, for starters, also sounds really, really good. It's another V8 engine, and it sounds very similar to the V8 supercar, to be honest. And this is Sonoma, a track which has been refreshed this update. It is not a new track. Sonoma's been in iRacing for a while, but it is refreshed. And it's got a bunch of stuff like NASCAR track limits, like you can go all the way off the track there if you want, and like over here if you want, you can go all the way off the road. Not guaranteed to hit an apex though. So yeah, I think this track looks really good with the kind of visual update. And this car, the GT4, feels really nice so far. I think the main difference that they've made to the GT4s is that they have less cornering grip, but they're a little bit faster in a straight line, and that is really obvious with this car. I feel like the high-speed stuff feels kind of similar, but the low-speed corners feel a lot slower. For example, this hairpin, I feel like I have to really over-slow the car to get it in there and get it rotated. But yes, I think this car will be very popular. I think it sounds really, really good. And yeah, hopefully lots of racing. The final thing we do need to check is if they kept the jump in at Sonoma. And the answer is yes, they did keep the jump. That's the most important part. Anyway, I hope you have a lot of fun driving it. The final new car this build is the Indy Next Dallara IL-15. It is a 2-litre turbocharged open wheeler making 450 horsepower. It also has a push-to-pass, which gives you an extra 50 horsepower as well. I like this car. It is an open wheeler that sits in a similar world to the Dallara Formula 3 and also the Super Formula Light, which is kind of the replacement for the Formula 3, but it does have more power than these cars. It actually feels like it's somewhat similar to the Super Formula Light and like somewhere between the Super Formula Light and the actual Super Formula in terms of power, but the aero is very similar to the Super Formula Light. So I think it is slightly overpowered as a car, and actually it makes it a lot of fun because there is a little bit more power than the grip, but it also makes it kind of difficult. Most impressions that I've seen today from other people driving it have been that this car is easier to drive than some other open wheelers, but I really don't think it is. I think this car is kind of tricky, especially once we start sweating it. I think it is a lot of fun, but I think you're going to have to be really smart with putting the power down so to be as fast as possible and also not to crash as well. Circuit of the Americas is another track to get reworked this build. It looks so much better than before. It looks at least 50% less like a car park than it used to. It has got new layouts for NASCAR as well as including NASCAR track limits in these layouts, or lack of track limits, I should say. So I gave the Indy Next a run there to see how it would drive. This is the new Dallara Indy Next car, and we're driving at a Kota, which has been reworked as well for this build. And for starters, this car is very fast. It is a fast open wheeler. It has more power than you would think, and slightly less aero than you would think is probably my first way to explain it. But yeah, this track is really interesting. I'm driving the short layout of it. It's actually the NASCAR short layout, which is brand new this build. So it has stuff like the tire bundle there, these walls, and it also has NASCAR track limits like Sonoma. So it means you can do things like this. and get no 1X, which feels very illegal. I feel like F1 drivers, their eyes would be bleeding watching that right now. But yeah, this car is very fun. I think it's like, if you're used to driving the Super Formula Light and the Super Formula, the big Super Formula, I would say it has similar levels of grip to the Super Formula Light, but with power halfway between the Super Formula Light and the big Super Formula. So it has a lot more power. I can just drive off the road. No one can stop me. Yeah, a bit more power, but not more aero for the power, I think. I think it'll be a really interesting car to drive. I think it's a lot harder than a lot of people are finding at the moment. But yeah, should produce some good racing, I think. So that's the new content for this build. As for if you should buy each bit of new content, it is going to be different for everyone. The Mustang GT4 and the Aston GT3 are both entering in existing car classes, and if you're a new driver that wants to get stuck into these classes, they'll be great cars to pick up, I think. But if you already own a bunch of GT3 cars and already own some GT4 cars, you only need to pick these ones up if you want to be honest. I think they're both very good cars, but neither are really groundbreaking, and I also think they have similar cars that already exist in the service. The Mercedes GT3 is kind of similar to the Aston, and the BMW GT4 is kind of similar to the Mustang. So if you own those cars already, you probably don't need to buy these new ones. The Indy Next is really fun though, and if you're up for open wheel races, you should go and buy it. I don't know how popular it will be. I think you'll definitely find races for it for the next season at least. I think a lot of people will run it. I think it'll be fairly popular. Outside next season though, I don't know. Maybe people will go back to focusing on like the Super Formula Lights and stuff, and official races might go down. I think it'll get raced, but the previous Indy ladder cars were not very popular, I think, in terms of participation, so just keep that in mind. Mexico City is worth a pickup though if you like F1 tracks. I've also looked at the schedule for next season, and this track is going to be in 37 series in iRacing, so it'll be raced a lot, and it looks like it'll definitely be worth the money. Outside the new content, the main update this build is the in-sim UI, and this one is really, really good. I've heard mixed responses across the internet from people liking it and some people not liking it, but most of the people not liking it, I think, are just like, they just don't like change, and that is fair. We have like a really, like, I have a sort of internal memory of where everything is in the UI and black boxes and stuff. I just like instinctively know where to look and where to click really quickly under pressure, and having a lot of these things in different places now it's pretty scary, but I think we will pick it up pretty quickly as we get used to it. The new UI does have a lot of new things though. Some main ones for me is the ability to expand the relative, and you can see the safety rating and I rating of the other drivers in your session, similar to what a bunch of overlays do already. And also you can change the virtual mirror size from like small, medium, large. And I also think the weather screens just look a lot better than they used to. The whole UI just looks so much better. Like, when you actually think about it, this thing looks way better than it used to. The only downsides that I can kind of sympathize with is that like the relative bar is like slightly thinner for some people, and the options menu is a lot bigger and requires a lot more scrolling, which is like a good thing and a bad thing. Yeah, outside these updates, as I said before and in a previous video outlining the update, there has been a lot of big track updates as well. The main ones have been some fairly big, hefty curb updates that I don't think people were aware of going into this build. The big one, for starters, is the Daytona bus stop, which now has a completely different layout. There is no grass at the bus stop at Daytona. It's got tire bundles, it's got bigger curbs, it is a different vibe. I don't hate it, to be honest. I think it's fine. Watkins Glen also has some anti-cuts at the bus stop, and COTA has lost its like lumpy anti-cuts through the first sector. Charlotte also has a bunch of new layouts, including the real-life NASCAR ones, including like a big hairpin leaving the infield section. So that is the update. It is a fairly big one. There's lots of new content, but I think it's really good. Thumbs up from me. Let me know in the comments if you've been driving the new content or testing out the new UI and if you like it or not. Otherwise, if you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like, and you can also subscribe to Overtake for more sim racing and iRacing videos. I will see you next time. Goodbye.